Good evening. Welcome to this Monday evening teaching on the 7 factors of awakening. And we are going through this module on cultivating effortless mindfulness over the past weeks. So today we are at the point where we can look back and look at, put together the few different ways where we are applying mindful awareness. So I've touched on mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings, as well as last week we touched on mindfulness of the mind. Mindfulness of the body, there are different ways to understand that, but on a simple level, simply becoming more in touch, more aware, attentive of the different bodily sensations in this moment. So mindfulness of the body usually is the one that people start off with when we cultivate mindfulness, because it's kind of obvious. We can feel our body, and it's no great difficulty. So it's a good place to start to cultivate mindfulness, so that we are more in touch with how our body is feeling, and hopefully, as we cultivate more of it, we are more in touch with the changes of our own body. We know when we are tired, and when we are rested, when we feel hunger, thirst, and so forth. So from mindfulness of body, we move on and talk about mindfulness of feelings. Feelings here in this context are not so much about emotions, but the feeling tone of the different experiences, whether the experience come across to us as pleasant or unpleasant, or neither. Neither doesn't mean we don't feel anything. It just means that those sensations, whatever it is we are experiencing, we can't easily classify it as nice or not nice, pleasant or unpleasant, but nonetheless we notice something is happening. So mindfulness of feelings. So we have separately talk about mindfulness of pleasant feelings, and also we talk about how mindfulness can also be applied in the context of pain, as part of a way to help us to manage and work with pain. And previously we talked about mindfulness of the mind. We become aware of our mind, which is of course always present, because it's mind that is meditating. But we become more in touch with how the mind can come under the influence of different conditions, or something. Buddhist context we call it mental factors. Some factors of mind has a calming effect on us, and others have an agitating effect. So, for example, when we get angry, so we are more aware of when the mind come under the influence of anger. Also, just as important to be aware and to be mindful when the mind is free of anger. Likewise, when the mind come under the influence of craving, how does it feel like? We become very aware. We know that, craving is present. All these different reactions I'm having, those are related to craving. Or we are aware that, at this moment, either craving has stopped, or craving is simply not present in this moment. Yeah. So let me put them all together in a kind of meaningful way, and then we can do meditation. And they can be, we can relate them on one to another. In fact, we can make use of this sequence in our meditative practice. We start with mindfulness of body, so which simply involve returning our attention to our own body to notice the different bodily sensations. And what sort of effect comes out of that? For me personally, I find by applying or returning attention back to the body, by practicing mindfulness of body in the context of meditation, what it does is very simply it helps our body. This connection is also can be viewed as a connection between body and mind. So often in our modern living, because of the busyness, because of the kind of work we involve in, the job, or just the very nature of modern living, there is to some extent a disconnection. I mean, of course, it's not completely disconnected, but there's a disconnection between our body and mind. So much so that a lot of our energy, of our attention, of our mental attention awareness is preoccupied with different ideas, different things that's stimulating us, visually or auditorily. So we are very preoccupied with ideas, but we are not so in touch with the actual physical state of the body, the physical sensations of the body. So there is this disconnect. And therefore, our body can somehow quite often get trapped in certain states of reactivity, especially to stress in our life. The body can feel very tight and very tense, and those holding can persist for a very long time without any relief, without any sense of rebalancing, coming back to baseline, coming back to a state of balance. No, the body is just sort of stuck in this state of tension as a reaction to different sources of stress in our life. So the first thing we can help our body as we settle into meditation is to return attention to the body, practice mindfulness of body. And it's almost like as the connection is reforged, the body got the signal. Now the signal can flow freely and strongly. Then the body says, oh, I'm not in any danger, There's nothing dangerous here. I'm just sitting alone in this empty hall and it's perfectly fine. And the body says, oh, why am I so tight and so tense? Why am I working so hard? I don't need to work so hard. You should have told me that it's my day off. It's my time off. So the body says, oh, all right, that's it. I'm switching off and I'm going for a rest. So the body relaxes, not immediately. Just very slowly, gradually, the body starts to undo. This kind of response sometimes is called relaxation response. In certain psychological and physiological experiment, they have tested meditation. It's one of the methods, not the only method, but one of the methods that can actually trigger this relaxation response, which is, of course, is the opposite of the fight or flight mode reaction that we enter into in the face of danger, in the face of great stress. Yeah. So this relaxation response, at least the physical side of it, is the body starts to unwind, starts to settle down and feel more comfortable, instead of all those contractions and tension. And that comes about through the condition of mindfulness of body. So already just that first part, we are feeling more and more comfortable in our physical posture, because we are settling down, we are relaxing, not collapsing, but simply release some of those unnecessary tension and contractions. We can let that go. And as that happens, naturally, we feel nice, isn't it? Of course, when we're all tense and tight, it's very uncomfortable. We don't feel nice. But once that release happens, whoa! Of course, it's not like bliss. It's not like a high, but it feels so much more comfortable. Pleasant feelings are here. Just take the face. So often I have a tendency to tense up the muscles around my eyes. I don't know why, but it's an unconscious thing. But especially when you're stressed or you need to focus on something, the muscles get very tight and tense. But when you notice it, you say, well, especially in meditation, I'm not staring at anything. Why do I need to be so tight and tense here in the muscles around the eyes? I can let that go. And once that relaxes, it feels so much softer, feels so much more comfortable, right? So pleasant feelings, very mild, pleasant feeling arise. And if we are mindfully aware of those pleasant feelings, which is what we try to do, if there is any pleasant feelings. Of course, if there isn't, then there's nothing to be mindfully aware of. But when it's here, can we notice them? Can we welcome that feeling into awareness, make it a part of our meditation, so that alongside whatever it is we are meditating on or focusing on, we also notice, and we allow ourselves to enjoy it while they're here. They don't last very long. They fade away very quickly. We get used to them, and so they fade from our perception, and that is natural. But while they're here, when we notice them, welcome them in, make them a part of our meditation. This mindfulness of pleasant feelings, such pleasant feelings that arise as a part of our meditation, has a profound effect on our meditative experience. Why? Just as mindfulness of body helps to reassure the body and help the body to release its so-called reactivity, physical reactivity, stress reactivity. Pleasant feelings that come forth in this way in the meditation reassure the mind, help the mind to let go of the mental reactivity. Of course, mental reactivity mostly arise in the form of agitation, restlessness, the form of thinking, compulsive thinking, worrying, keep thinking about the past, or keep planning for the future, or sometimes as a way of escape, we find we compulsively dwell on certain fantasies, or some of us have this habitual habit of being critical, come forth in the form of judgments and criticisms. So these are all agitated mental activities. And you will find that this agitation starts to slow down, starts to lessen, the more we notice that we are feeling quite relaxed, quite pleasant, quite comfortable, and it seems to get better and better. What is the message that is sent to our mind? Everything is all right. We're not running away from tigers and lions. There's no one holding guns trying to shoot us, and our life is not in any immediate danger. We can switch off the fight, flight, and freeze mode of reactivity. We can allow things to go back to baseline, to normal. And the mind starts to relax. So you'll find that the more we settle into our meditation through mindfulness of body, mindfulness of pleasant feelings, very naturally, of course, thinking may not stop completely, but they are less compulsive. They are less aggressive, so to speak. They don't keep arising and capturing your attention and pulling you here and there. And more you have a sense that you are able to, at least for a few seconds, be present here. Just present, not doing anything, just noticing the body, the breath, noticing the feelings, aware of the sound, the surrounding. But the mind has a growing sense of stillness or silence or spaciousness, depending on how it comes to you. Those are a good indication of the whole system is settling down and settling deeper into meditation. And it is with this as preconditions, mindfulness of body, mindfulness of pleasant feelings, that whether we like it or not, we become mindful of our own mind. We really notice the mental activities, whether they're a lot or whether they're less, or we become very aware of the mind itself. Whether we are feeling awake and alert, or I'm feeling a bit dull and drowsy, and everything seems a bit dark within the mind itself. So we become more sensitive to the state of the mind. Mindfulness of the mind is already here. We don't need to deliberately practice it. We almost automatically become aware of the mind, alongside, of course, the body and feelings. And here, the first meditation, let's try out these three things. And when we come to mindfulness of the mind, the main thing what we want to do is we want to steady the mind, stabilize the mind, settle the mind. So we give the mind something to do, a place, an object, or a support that we can rest our attention on. Notice how I say this, right? It's not an object we need to focus on, somehow hang on to for dear life, because otherwise I will be a failure as a meditator. No. This is a resting place for our attention. We have worked so hard just for the rest of the day. Now we can rest the mind. Resting the mind is to give like a parking lot, so to speak, where you can just park your attention there and don't worry about it. Just allow it to settle here. Of course, when the mind is still a bit agitated, it doesn't stay long. Attention doesn't stay long on the object, which could be, I'm going to use the breath, right? Which could be the breath sensations. it will go off again and start to think about this and that is perfectly fine. And when you notice, you say, well, no, yeah, it's good to keep working, but no, now it's the time to rest. So come back to the breath and just rest. Even if it's just one breath, it's still good. No, even though your attention doesn't stay for long, that's not a problem, because at any point of time you can invite to come back to rest on the breath. You'll find that if you take this attitude towards it, we are becoming, as we are more aware of the activity of the mind, we are also helping the mind to settle down by giving it a support, a focus, so to speak, where we can just return our attention gently, gracefully, just allow it to come back and rest on it. And don't worry how long it stays. How long it stays is not up to us to decide. It really depends on the state of the mind itself, how activated or agitated the mind is. The less agitated, less activated the mind is, you will find that the longer your attention will just abide there. There's nowhere it wants to go, and it's quite happy to be here in this moment with the breath. And then suddenly you realize there will come a point when you get very good at these so-called three steps. A day, maybe not so long in the future, or maybe even in this session, you suddenly have this experience that, gee, I mean, I'm still thinking, but my attention is still with the breath. Isn't it strange? I'm still keep noticing the in breath and the out breath. I'm still talking to myself, of course, but and then after a while, it's still here. It's still here with the in breath and the out breath, and it hasn't gone away completely. It hasn't come lost in thoughts. It's still very much present in this moment with the breath. Maybe also notice the body. Sometimes you notice the sound, depending, but it is still here. And that is a sign that, because of the practice of the mindfulness of body, of feelings, of mind, and by offering this focus, the resting place, the support for your attention, that your mind has actually settled down to some extent, which is why you really notice the duration in which your attention just simply abides in this moment with the breath or whatever it is you're meditating on. And that is a very encouraging sign that what we have longed for, this is what people call concentrations, is already here. Not perfect, but we are getting a hang of it, right? And hopefully, when we get really good at it, we really habituate ourselves, familiarize ourselves with this three-step process. Is like, there's no brainer. Just don't even need to think about it. You get into the routine, you get into the habits, and you become so skillful with it that you just, and then ta-da, I have arrived in the midst of a deepening meditative state. So that is my hope, that don't have to take what I say on faith, and let's just try out and see what happens. Okay. So I invite you to settle into a suitable meditation posture, very important condition. Not the perfect meditation posture, but a suitable one, appropriate one. If you feel that you feel up to it, you have the energy and the place is appropriate, by all means, we can sit up, sit on a chair like what I'm doing, or sit on the floor if you can sit comfortably in a cross-leg position on a cushion. There are also days where you feel tired, lack of energy, you simply have a very bad back, then by all means lie down, lie on your back, lie on the suitable surface, of course, on the floor, on a yoga mat, on a firm bed, or a couch or whatever, one that provide good support for your body, and see what happens. So the posture can be flexible depending on the conditions of our body. So let's do that. And I'll just ring this bell to signal the start of our meditation. So take a few moments, adjust our body, give our body some time to find its way into the meditation posture we have adopted. Allow it to acclimatize to it, get used to it. And we can help it along by returning our attention to here and now, to notice the sensations coming through from beneath our body, from coming through at the points of contact between our body and our seats or cushion, our body and the floor, the ground. See if we can find sensations that we associate with solidity, with firmness, with stability at those touch points. What we want to do is to let the body feel that it is resting on a very stable support, that the whole posture is well balanced, well supported, and safe. And when reassured in this way, eventually the message is able to reach to our body, our brain. We may find that the body can start to respond. The body may decide that it does not need to be so tight, so tense. It allows itself to loosen up, to unwind some of the wound up tension and energies, and to let go in its own time of some of those unnecessary contractions and tightenings. So that given time, our body can settle down more and more comfortably into the meditation posture. So next we're going to practice mindfulness of the body as a condition by returning our attention to our own body, by getting in touch without much effort, just a light touch, getting in touch with the bodily sensations at the different parts of the body. We hope to facilitate the further unwinding, the further release of all these unnecessary tensions. We hope to trigger and reinforce what we call the relaxation response. Let's start at the crown. And if you are familiar with this procedure, there is no need to follow what I'm saying. You can feel free to ignore me if what I'm saying is not helpful or appropriate to your experience. So at the crown, I would allow myself to be aware of subtle sensations here. They may come across as tingling sensations, a slight feeling of pressure, a little bit of warmth or coolness, maybe nothing at all. And then expanding the scope of awareness, notice sensations in the rest of the head, maybe forward and downwards into the face. Notice the sensations at the face. Am I tensing up any of the muscles of the face? Am I clenching my jaw, tensing the muscles of the forehead? And how about the muscles around the eyes? Given that we all have some degree of control over our facial muscles, is it possible for us now to relax those tensions? Allow into our own face a feeling of softness, of relaxation, of ease and comfort. So alongside those sensations, we notice sensations at the sides of the head, maybe at the back of the head, could also be inside the head. Very simple, subtle sensations, difficult to describe, but nonetheless, we can be aware of. Moving down, feel free to move at your own pace. We notice sensations in the neck, the muscles of the neck. We lightly touch the throat. We check in on our shoulders, how our shoulders feeling today. Feel free to acknowledge any unpleasant sensations when they're here. Tensions that might be difficult to relax immediately. So see if we can simply let them be for the moment. From the shoulders, we move downwards into the arms. We let into our awareness sensations along the arms, starting from the shoulder joints, sensations from the upper arms. Nothing spectacular. We don't have to look out for any intense feeling. Just very mundane, simple sensations of touch and so forth. Subtle sensations at both elbows, maybe. Continue into the forearms. Sensations at both wrists. And eventually, we end up at both hands. Notice sensations in the palm of the hands, the back of the hands, the fingers, all the way to the fingertips. Now that I'm aware of both arms, sensations in the arms and hands, mentally I give permission. I allow myself to rest both arms. Rest their weights comfortably on their support so that I really do not need to deliberately tense up the muscles of the shoulders or the arms to hold them up. Coming back to the chest, throughout the meditation, we may need to invite our attention to come back to the different parts of the body again and again. That is totally normal. Notice sensations at the chest, maybe the movements of the chest associated with breathing. Maybe we may sense the beating of our own heart. And we take care not only in noticing the sensations at the front of the body, but also at the back, the upper back. Practicing mindfulness of body, we invite our attention to come back, to take in the different bodily sensations. Maybe now, sensations at the abdomen, sensations at the skin level, sensations at the muscles, and maybe even deep within, at the level of the organs. And notice not only sensations at the front, but also at the back, the lower back. We welcome our attention to come back here and now, reconnect with the body. Mindfulness of body facilitate our body in releasing unnecessary tension, loosening up, adjusting, coming back to a baseline state of relaxation and ease. Moving further down, we attend to the pelvic region. We notice sensations here, sensations in the muscles, powerful muscles in this part of the body, the various organs here. We tune into the weight of the pelvis, sensing that weight resting on the seat or cushion or the floor. Once again, give permission gently to rest that weight of the pelvis comfortably on its support, surrendering it to gravity, releasing any unnecessary tension and tightness around it. So that we allow our pelvis to rest comfortably on its own support. Continue with mindfulness of body, down both legs at the same time. Notice sensations starting from the hips. Once again, I emphasize just simple sensations, nothing unusual. Sensations in the upper legs, sensations at both knees. Moving downwards into the calves, the shins, arriving at the ankles, and we finish at both feet, so that we are aware of the sensations coming through from the soles of the feet, at the top of the feet, the sensations at the toes, and we take note of both legs, how they rest on their supports. Could be the floor, could be some other physical objects. And we give permission. Release the weight of both legs. Allow that to rest comfortably on their support. Lastly, let's come back to the face. Check in to see whether we have tensed up our facial muscles during this process of mindfulness of body. And if we have, is it possible for us once again to release those facial tensions and welcome in once again a feeling of softness, of relaxation, of comfort? We rest the body in this posture, in this way. Stay connected to some of the bodily sensations here and now, and allow the body to continue at its own pace, to settle down, to unwind, to release more and more of those unnecessary tensions and contractions. We rest our mind, our attention with the body here and now, and allow ourselves to enjoy any pleasant sensations that come forth, any feeling of relaxation, of ease, of softening, of comfort. We welcome those pleasant feelings into our awareness as we practice mindfulness of pleasant feelings while they are here. And then to allow ourselves to settle even deeper into meditation, we make use of a simple object or support, such as the breath sensations, and we rest our attention on the breath sensations. Just as we rest the body in the posture, we rest the mind, the attention on the breath sensations. We allow ourselves to be aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. Feel free to notice the breath sensations at any part of the body. Could be around the nostrils, where we can feel the air flow in and out. Could be at the chest, where we can sense the movements of expansion and contraction of the chest. Could also be at the abdomen, where there is a movement of rising and falling, as well as many of those subtle sensations of the breath throughout the body. We rest our attention on some of these breath sensations and welcome our attention back to them if we do get distracted. Coming back to the breath again and again. Don't feel that we need to hold on to the breath. It's not necessary. Think of the breath sensations or any other support or meditation as a resting place for our attention. When our attention got very busy and caught up in thoughts, in worries, in agitation, here is a place to return our attention to find some rest, some peace, some stability. Coming back to the breath, we can even make use of the out breath as an opportunity just to help us to release some more of that agitation. We can allow the thoughts, the words, the images to flow away with the breath. We can allow any physical tension and discomfort also to flow away with the out breath. So for the rest of the meditation, I invite you to practice mindfulness of body, aware of bodily sensations, including the breath, mindfulness of pleasant feelings, as and when you do notice pleasant sensations in your meditation, and mindfulness of the mind, noticing the state of your mind, noticing what your attention is drawn to, and invite your attention again and again to come back here and now to rest on the breath. So I'm going to keep quiet for the next few minutes and allow you to experience the three kinds of mindfulness and their effects. Okay, so regardless of what your experience is, I hope it's not unpleasant, not too unpleasant, and doesn't require you to use a tremendous amount of effort or determination or willpower. That I might in some way able to at least put across this idea that we can sort of relate the three of different types of mindfulness together. They do flow together, they can come together. And that my idea is the more we are used to it, the more we get used to it, we habituate, we practice in our own way. There is a very natural relationship between the three of them, and there's a kind of how can I say they support one another, you know. And the stronger the interrelationship, the more familiar we are with them, the easier it is for us to bring about the desired outcomes, you know, because we are becoming more skillful. You know, we are better at mindfulness, we become more skillful, we are more familiar. And then we can, you know, by starting off with mindfulness of body, which is the most obvious, the easiest to notice, then naturally, when we get good at it, it's almost we become more and more confident that for sure there will be a little bit of pleasant feelings will come up. Every time I do it and I get really good at this mindfulness of body, whichever way you do it, it inevitably help to catalyze a certain degree of release of physical tension, and therefore almost guaranteed to have some kind of pleasant sensations. So then, of course, I can practice mindfulness of pleasant feelings. That comes naturally. And the more I'm able to practice mindfulness of feeling, pleasant feeling, I know it will, to some extent, reassure the mind and help the mind to settle down. Mind will be a bit less crazy, you know. It will still be crazy, but less. And that makes it so much easier to practice mindfulness of the mind. You know, it's almost without any effort, I start to notice the mind. I might notice the mind is very busy today, or the mind is a bit sleepy today, you know. It's all the mind seems to be. Oh, I noticed that familiar, quiet. The mind is quieting down, becoming more and more still, or a little bit more still, relatively speaking, and the mindfulness of the mind. And the more the mind settles down, of course, the easier it is to invite the attention to come back to rest on your meditation object or support, whatever it is. Could be a breath, could be a mantra, could be some visualizations if you are doing it, or could be sometimes people use certain bodily sensations as a support. That's also fine. And sometimes you don't actually need anything specific. Just this idea, like I have this meditation I call listening meditation. You just come back here and listen. That's all. No, not even trying to hold on to anything, or you're just coming back to this moment, to be present in this moment, you know, to be open to what is happening here and now. And that becomes easier and easier the more we are able to learn how to stabilize the mind, reassure the mind, stabilize the attention, settle the attention, not perfectly, but slowly. Then the more, without us intending to or working towards, you'll find that it's get easier and easier for the attention to rest longer and longer on the object of meditation. And this happened without, from our part, trying to somehow hang on to that object of meditation, trying to resist, you know, the temptation to move away or forcefully force our mind to stay. None of those are very effortful or what I call willful practice. It's just as a natural progression of the deepening of our meditation through applying the different skills of mindfulness, that naturally the mind, the attention rests longer and longer and become more and more familiar and more comfortable and at ease with the object of meditation. And this is, when that happens, we can say that to some extent we have helped to steady our attention, steady the mind, really stabilize and settle the mind. The mind will still have some kind of activities, and we'll still get distracted now and then. But overall, the inner experience within our meditation in our mind is a growing sense of stillness and peacefulness. So if you do have any comments or questions, feel free to write on the live chat. I'm very good at going on and on. So I've been doing this for quite a few weeks now. So the second half of tonight's session, I want to. So just now I talk about stabilizing the attention. This is one of the skills we need to learn with mindfulness of the mind. Having noticed what's going on in the mind, having noticed what are the factors influencing our mind, the functioning of the mind. So one main thing we need to learn is how to help the mind to settle down, how to steady the attention, how to stabilize the attention. So, and that's what we illustrate just now, through becoming familiar with the object like the breath. With the breath as the added advantage is that it's a very soothing object, a very calming object, which is why it's commonly used for stabilizing and settling the mind. Especially with the out breath, this natural movement of breathing out lend itself very simply and naturally to the notion of release, helping us to release the agitation, release the worry, just let them drop. Not so much as in get rid of them, but encourage the mind to just leave aside the concern for now. We can pick it up later. Leave aside all this inclination to problem solve or to plan or to somehow secure our future or to fully make sense of our past. All these attempts at different mental activities really help them to calm them down. Now, having done that, we also need to know the opposite skill, which is when the mind is not. This is the opposite. When the mind doesn't have enough energy, it's very heavy, very dull, very sleepy, very drowsy. In Tibetan Buddhism, this mind is described as a sinking mind. It's sort of like you just leave it on its own, it will just start to sink, sink into water, sink into the mud. It doesn't have enough energy to keep the mind alert, awake. Yeah. The sinking mind can also deal to depression, due to experiencing suffering, despair, the loss of hope, loss of any source of interest. So that is also another version of the sinking mind. The mind, in this case, this mind is almost sinking emotionally, not because it's physically tired, but it's because it's losing hope, or overwhelmed by desperation. So there is no motivation. So that energetically, the mind becomes very lethargic, like very kind of unmotivated, uninterested. Yeah. So this is another version of that. So we need to somehow uplift the mind. So that's the other opposite skill: how to energize the mind, how to uplift it, how to, in a very gentle way, feed energy into attention, so that attention can rise up, from the depth of depression or desperation or tiredness, and come back to wakefulness, come back to alertness, come back to awareness, and be brighter, more present, more aware, with a kind of lightness and buoyancy to it. We need to uplift the mind. And there's also, one of the best way to uplift the mind, of course, is to experience and to notice pleasant sensations. We all enjoy having a good time, isn't it? We all enjoy experiencing pleasures. It's probably one of the main objectives in life, is to have some nice, good enjoyment, right? Of course, it varies from one person to another. So when the mind touch something that feels nice and pleasant, that is very uplifting, right? Energizing, isn't it? It's we get interested. Oh, what is this? What is this nice feelings? Let me have more of it. Just almost automatically. It doesn't need anything to convince us. So if the mind is able to contact some sensations that is come across as pleasant, that we experience as pleasant, or maybe not need to be pleasant, just interesting, intriguing, then we have this, what's going on? What's happening? The mind get energized. Right? So we are lifting it up of that kind of drowsiness and lethargic states and I don't know what's going on. Suddenly it will wake up. Yeah. So pleasure is a very good thing to energize the mind, but we do need to be careful what kind of pleasures we are using, because it can be a bit overstimulating, and then we go to the other side. The mind becomes agitated. So the pleasures that come out of meditation itself is the best. Pleasures that come from the usual stimulation of our physical senses. I mean, it does uplift us. We get very interested. In fact, we get so engrossed in playing games that we can walk into a lamppost, or walk out into the street or walk and kill ourselves, get ourselves killed. Yeah, but we don't want that kind of stimulation. That is a bit too much. Let's try to uplift the mind by inviting our attention after we have settled down, so that we basically is a kind of balancing act, learning how to steady the mind and uplift the mind. And at different time, we may have to do different things. Yeah. But so having mentioned, touch on stabilizing the attention, now I want to touch on how to uplift the mind, energize the mind. And that is through contacting pleasant sensations that come out of our meditation. And in a nutshell, I'm going to ask you or encourage you to enjoy your meditation. I know I've been saying this, that how rare it is that people ask us to enjoy our meditation. I can tell you in my own long journey of meditation, almost no one has ever asked me to enjoy my meditation. Meditation is something that is good for you and it's right for you and it's holy or whatever not. But nobody ever says that it is something that can be enjoyable and I can actually enjoy my meditation. And that's why I would like to convey this idea. Well, just enjoy it. It could be something fun, it could be something interesting and intriguing. And when you're able to get that, it's not difficult, for us to see how we can energize the mind, we can uplift the mind. And that is through contacting the pleasant feelings that can come out of our meditation. We start from a low standard. Right? Don't go looking for some great bliss and whatever not. Most probably wouldn't find it in our meditation. We're just going to be disappointed. We start small, weak, whatever is available right here, right now. So any little bit of pleasant feeling, comfortable feeling, like for example, the relaxation of the face. For a very short duration, there's a wonderful feeling of softening, of ease and comfort. That is good enough to start. We start with that and we feel, this immediately feels so much better. So we notice that, we welcome that into awareness and allow ourselves to attend to it, notice it, and enjoy it while it lasts. And throughout the rest of the body, just as what we practice in mindfulness of feelings, that comes into play at this point of time. As we deepen our meditation, we don't leave it behind. We bring it along with us. Mindfulness of body, mindfulness feeling, mindfulness of mind. Throughout the meditation, we might start off building up on them one at a time, but we sort of leave them, forget about them. We bring them along with us as we deepen our meditation. And here, as the mind settled, what is really helpful when the mind becomes relatively more steady, settled, is to learn to uplift it, give it a bit more energy, see where it goes by contacting the pleasant sensations in the meditation. On occasion where you feel quite settled, but there isn't any noticeable pleasant feelings, then we can help it along. And one way I find quite interesting is to allow a gentle smile to appear across one's mouth. So just allow ourselves to come into this gentle smile and just allow it to be there, without much effort, and notice the sensations that arise around this area. When we allow a smile to appear on our face, the smile sometimes suggests like what we see on the different Buddha statue. The Buddha statue tends to have this, there's a hint of a smile. No, they're not like completely flat, but they do have a slight lift at the corners of the mouth. And we let that happen. And in my own experience, it usually starts to trigger, I wouldn't say pleasant sensation, but intriguing sensation starts to appear. And if I just leave it in that smiling state, the sensation persists. And then there is a trigger. What we need to do with this kind of mindfulness of pleasant feeling is to do nothing other than to just rest your attention on those sensations and just enjoy it while they're here. Don't try to increase it or expand it or do all sorts of things with it. Just rest our attention on it. Think of our attention in this case as energy, and we feed that energy into those pleasant sensations as they are by attending to that, and that's it. And over a period of time, you will find that they will start to spread, and you will start to notice more and more of the pleasant sensations, and that becomes the trigger for us getting really deep into our meditation. Because here we have combined the two. We are able to stabilize the mind, we're able to uplift the mind, and as these different aspects of our body and mind come back together and work harmoniously together in balance, dynamic balance with one another, we set the stage for us to enter a deepening level of meditative absorption. So this is this complete my so-called presentation of that progression: mindfulness of body, mindfulness of present feeling, mindfulness of mind. Start with stabilizing the mind when we can, and when we are able to stabilize the mind to some extent, we practice uplifting the mind by reminding ourselves, by contacting any pleasant sensations we can find, and we allow that to do its work, to perform its magic. And when the magic happens, you will find that all these other factors that we have been slowly cultivating and working on, they start to all come back together. And when they come together and work harmoniously, we enter a state of flow. In modern psychology, there's this concept called flow, in which body and mind are able to work almost at an optimal state, in complete harmony with one another. To the extent that it's a wonderful experience, completely absence of self-conscious kind of awkwardness, completely absence of that kind of self-conscious meddling. It's almost as if the body and mind can just take over and just follow their own nature. And that happens. Flow tends to happen in when people perform at peak level, peak performance, where they lose a kind of self-conscious manipulation, and the body and mind just take over and perform at whatever it is. It can be a dance, can be a sport, or can be a kind of performance, and so on and so forth. And they just sort of surrender themselves to the activity itself. So something similar to that flow, but much deeper, can happen in meditation, when we are able to actualize this balance between stabilizing and uplifting. And it is the pleasant sensation that acts as a trigger, because the moment we are able to experience that pleasant sensation, it really is like a magnet. It starts to attract all the energy of attention to come back. You may start off with a little bit, and then the more pleasant sensation we notice, the more of that energy of attention is drawn back into meditation. And the more we find that less and less we are distracted, less and less we spend the energy thinking about this and thinking about that, all that disappears. Because the energy is no longer there. The energy is here with whatever is unfolding in our meditation. And when that happens, even to a small extent, we really notice in our meditative experience that something has shifted. You know, meditation seems to flow so much easily, so much effortlessly, and we are so much less distracted, and we are less of a downers or drowsiness. Something incredible, wonderful is unfolding here. We are not falling asleep to that, and everything just seems to move spontaneously and naturally on its own. So those are indication of a state of deepening meditative absorption. So, all right, I say a lot. This is all theoretical. Let's give it a try. And this time, I'm going to invite you towards the end of this meditation, you know, to entertain the possibility, you know, that we can find something pleasant within our meditation, and we can give our attention to it and see what happens. You know, just remember, don't try to increase the pleasure. Don't try to hold on to it if it's fading, and don't try to spread it if it doesn't spread. Don't meddle with it. Just rest our attention on whatever pleasant sensations they are, and just feed it with the power of our attention. Sometimes they will fade and disappear, no problem. Find another source of pleasant sensations and rest your attention on it. And don't forget, on occasion you feel appropriate, you can let a smile appear on your face. Just a very little smile, no much effort, no much tension. And by attending to the sensation associated with a smile, a genuine smile, you know, try not to force yourself too much. Maybe you can find right here some interesting sensations to start with. All right. So let's do one meditation. Okay, so I invite you to settle back in a suitable meditation posture. So let's take a few moments at the beginning of this meditation. We give time for our body to adjust itself and to find its way into the posture, and allow it to be more and more comfortable in this posture. So just as before, we're going to spend a few minutes at the beginning of this meditation. And we're going to practice mindfulness of body, where we invite our attention to come back here and now, to be in touch with the sensations at the different parts of the body. So I'm going to keep quiet for the next few minutes, and I invite you in your own way. You can do scanning, you can do it whichever way you want. See if you can invite your attention again and again. Just come back, reconnect body and mind, so that you can be mindfully aware of the different bodily sensations. So, alongside the mindfulness of body, as you, in your own way, return attention to the different parts of your own body to awaken and reconnect the connection between body and mind, I'm here to remind you to also practice alongside mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings. When you notice that different parts of the body, uncomfortable feelings, painful feelings, aches and pain due to tension and so forth, see if you can simply acknowledge those unpleasant feelings while they're here. Don't feel that you necessarily have to do anything about them. Simply acknowledge that those parts of the body are uncomfortable. It also highlights any pleasant feelings when you do find them. Welcome those pleasant feelings, however mild they are, into your awareness and enjoy them while they're here. So, coming back to here and now, as we practice mindfulness of body, and alongside with that, mindfulness of feelings, we continue to be mindful of body and feelings. But as and when you feel ready, we can to help the mind to settle down even further. Choose a suitable meditation object or support, such as the breath, maybe, and invite our attention to come back to it again and again gently. And alongside mindfulness of the meditation object, such as the breath, we continue to practice mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings. But mainly we work gently, gracefully at helping the mind to settle down, to release unnecessary thoughts, worries, agitations, by inviting the attention again and again to come back here and now to rest on the breath. So coming back to the breath, coming back to your meditation objects, as we bring together mindfulness of body, feeling, and mind, and as we gently invite attention to come back again and again to the breath as the meditation supports to help to stabilize the mind, help the mind to release agitations, distractions gently. If you're up to it, you can consider my suggestions to invite into your awareness so that alongside the breath, you're also aware of any pleasant sensations that come out of your meditation. However faint or short-lived they may be, welcome that pleasure into your awareness alongside your breath. And rest your attention also on that pleasant feelings while they last. Not trying to do anything to it, simply appreciate it while they are here. Allow yourself to enjoy them. You can also take up my suggestions of allowing a gentle smile to appear on your face, so that alongside the breath, you are also tuned into those subtle sensations around your mouth as you allow a genuine smile to come to your face. And see what happens. Okay, so today I share with you this idea of we can practice mindfulness of body alongside mindfulness of feeling, alongside mindfulness of the mind. Of course, we can start one at a time, but eventually they can work harmoniously together. And it can be done in a more effortless way without us having to feel that we put a lot of conscious effort into each one of them. And they have a natural progression and a natural relationship, interrelationship among them. In particular, when this is what I described, you can arrive at the mindfulness of the mind, then you can actually, um, I mean, this is just a very short introduction, but with time, and as you experiment with it, learning how to stabilize the mind, as you are aware of it, also learning how to, in a way that works for you, uplift the mind. And primarily in this case through contacting pleasant experiences, pleasant sensations that come out of the meditation itself. And then when the two of them are able to come into some kind of dynamic balance with one another, not one too much or one too other, they have this incredible ability of helping to bring everything together, body and mind to function together. And I'm saying that this opened the door for us to approach, to go deeper into the meditative experience, to enter states of meditative absorption. So it's just, for me, I find it's quite an enjoyable kind of exploration, in the context of meditation, cultivating mindfulness. But also, if you do it more, you will realize that without much effort on our parts, we don't even need to consciously think of transferring the skill. The ability to be mindful is automatically also present outside of the meditation in our daily life. We find that on occasion, just spontaneously, we become more aware of the body, bodily experiences. We are aware of feelings, pleasant or unpleasant. And we're also aware of what's going on in our mind. We catch ourselves entertaining certain thoughts, or we catch our mind noticing the mind's becoming agitated, or the mind's becoming sleepy, or mind become more present and aware. So there is a kind of transferability of mindfulness skill from the context of meditation to outside of meditation, to the rest of our life. Okay, so that's all I have for this evening. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you have a good week ahead. And next week, we'll continue to explore cultivating effortless meditation. So, good night.